Hey, what's up guys? It's your boy Max Vangeli here, and today I'm going to show you how I made my last single, What's Love Got to Do With It, with Agatha on the vocals. Let's go! Where is it? One of the most important things I gotta tell you guys, organize your samples and projects, because I just spent the last 15 minutes trying to find it and I can't find it. So when I start a new track, I always like to start with a melody. In this case, it's this one here. Super cool. I like to use a basic grand piano. It's actually a plug-in here from Ableton Live. Super simple. My favorite CLA guitar that I slap on everything. Look at the difference. Wow, what a huge difference. So that is the first thing I do before I dive into anything else in my song structure. Guys, once we get the chords, that's where we dive into the stacking. And if you want those big lush chords that I have in What's Love Got to Do With It, you gotta get Nexus for those big trancey stabs that we hear in festivals and clubs. Get Nexus, guys, very important. Okay guys, now we are on Nexus. Yeah. Okay, I totally messed up that first layer, but you got the point. So, the most important thing is stacking. We got the main chord stacks here. Side chaining. So you got Nexus 1, Nexus 2, Nexus 3, Nexus 4, Nexus 5, and then another 2 more layers of this. I know you guys think I'm crazy, but the secondary is going to be the high end, which is Nexus 1, Nexus 2. Now, as you can see, most of them have CLA, my favorite plugin. I literally stack that bad boy on everything. And then you got the side chaining. I like to group all of these side chain. So I'm going to just go over the processing on the entire stack of chords 1, which is here. Let's remove the side chain. So I'm going to play them individually. As you can see, the last one is a piano. And then the top ones are like this individually. As you can hear, very high. Basically entire octave up. So you have to make sure that you EQ all of these things obviously properly. You got a low cut. And a little trick that a lot of people that are using the trance chords are not using, you have to high cut this little area right here, because this region right here is going to be where the hi-hats are going to be sitting. And I hate hearing that buzzy sound right here. Listen to it. It's almost like an unnecessary white noise, which I always remove over here. So those are my stacks. Let's count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 stacks, and they are all proportionally EQ'd. You have to EQ these sounds. As you can see, the low cutting is always happening here. And then most of the time, when there's a lot of low end, I EQ individual ones, but more importantly is where my main chain is of chords here. Again, low cut, I low cut, compress, low cut, compress. Another CLA guitar on this bad boy. I took off the delay this time because it was getting in the way. And that is pretty much it. This is another one, another really cool plugin that I love using, by the way, Nicky Romero Sidechain Kick. I always use it. This is a really cool plugin, Bass Clef Mono Bass. Shout out to Bass Clef. What this does is basically you can control where the mono and the stereo signal goes. And I always like to set it at around 150, where all below 150 is where it's always in mono, and above 150 is where you could keep it in stereo. It really cleans up the mix. That's it for Nexus. Stack them up, guys, to get those big chords. A lot of guys I see, they're afraid to stack up the chords, and they're always thinking, oh my God, it's gonna get too messy and all of that stuff. But don't worry, keep them stacked. Guys, when you're making progressive house or records with big vocals on the drops or melodies, you have to keep your bass lines simple. I hear way too many records with these massive chords and these complicated bass lines. For me, I always love to use Operator. Operator is one of my favorite plugins in Ableton. It's super simple. I heard deadmau5 secretly uses it on most of his productions. It's amazing. Let's dive in. Here's my extremely simple bass line. As I said, I'm using Operator. Let's take off the sidechain real quick so you guys can hear it. I know it's super boring, but the most important thing about bass lines is supporting your main melodies or chords. In my case, it's chords. What I love about Operator is that you can tweak these oscillators here. Check out the growl that you can create. Depending on how bassy or you want to make your bass lines, you can really tweak this level here. And what I noticed is that when you create a growl and bring up these levels over here on the secondary, on the B, you're actually reducing the low end. Sometimes when you want to create less low end, if your kick is big, for example, check it out, super bassy. I just love Operator. Honestly, I think it's one of the simplest ways to create bass lines. If you guys are not using Ableton, I strongly suggest that you guys find something super simple where it has two oscillators, a sine, preferably a sine for the sub bass, and then a little bit of a something a little bit more edgy, like a saw for the upper layers, and you can kind of really dial it in and have fun with it. Processing, another one of my favorites is Camel Crush. I put Camel Crush pretty much on all my bass lines. Not a huge industry secret because most guys are using it. A little bit of a compression here, a little EQing, not too much. I'm actually not really doing too much stuff here. And then I always put my bass line in mono. Hey guys, let's dive into the vocals now. I have a massive secret. I use two microphones. One is the classic Shure SM58. I'm sure you guys have heard of this one. And then the other one is PreSonus M7, which is probably one of the cheapest microphones on the market. I don't even know how much it costs. This microphone came with a package with a sound card and headphones. The most important thing, guys, is room treatment, acoustics, and there's so many plugins now that you guys can use. Waves plugins. Don't spend thousands of dollars on a microphone if you guys don't have a properly treated room. Focus on your techniques on recording vocals first, and then dive into expending millions and millions of dollars, pounds, pesos, whatever you guys want to call it, on a microphone. I have two of the cheapest microphones, and I've been rocking vocals for many years, and I've recorded vocals in some of the most expensive studios around the world, and I still love recording with the cheapios over here. And I love expensive microphones, don't get me wrong, but the thing about expensive microphones is that you need to know how to track vocals properly, otherwise you're gonna create a mess. So this is great news for you guys. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars on microphones, just learn how to track vocals, and let's dive into the processing. Okay guys, so instead of diving into the vocals of the actual track, I'm gonna reveal my vocal chain for most of the vocals that I do on the group. I do EQ them individually. I just threw in a random acapella here. It's actually an Axwell acapella. I'm just going to show you my vocal chain here. I start with the glue compressor. You can use any compressor that your program has just to tighten things up a little bit. And then after that, I have this magic little thing. It's called the JJP vocals from Waves. And literally, this is like a stock. I just open up and this is how I tweak a little bit of the highs. I reduce this highs a little bit, and then I tweak the knobs, just kind of get the feel of it. It's basically a compression EQing kind of combination of both. It's really cool. It really opens up the vocals. Then after that, I have a low cut, always low cut, that's important. Then I go into my very famous, well, not my very famous, my favorite EQ from Waves again, and this is to boost the highs right here, as you can see. Then after that, I go and I de-ess it a little bit to get rid of those S's, the harshness of it. You don't have to, but a lot of the times you get those hisses and stuff that you want to get rid of. This is Waves again. After that, I have a noise reducer and another noise reducer. This is basically if you have a noisy room, if you have your AC turned on or whatever, or like there's humming in the back or whatever, or your dog is barking. Hopefully your dog is not barking. When you record vocals, I slapped two because one wasn't enough, unfortunately, so that's how it is. For the What's Love Got to Do With It, not for every vocal. It depends on which vocal you're doing. And then to close things off, I EQ the lows again, because compression creates a lot of low end and you want to get rid of that low end again. And then this is the problem area for a lot of vocals. This is where the mud lies. In this case, it's around 214 hertz. So I basically dip that area to get rid of that muddiness. Now, you're probably wondering about the reverb and the delays. These are both sends. They're going to be two sends right here. This is my reverb chain. You got reverb, then followed by a hot tube distortion. This just kind of gives a little bit of a spiciness to your reverb. Again, low cut, high cut, and this is where I get very technical. I sidechain the effect right here, so you would sidechain it to a vocal. So basically every time your main is playing, your reverb gets ducked. That way you get a nice clean signal of the dry, and the wetness kind of comes underneath. And I actually do the same thing. Normally I do the same thing with the delay. So we're gonna go ahead and copy it over here, in this case, I'm using an echo for the delay, and then I low cut it one more time, and then once again, you want to sidechain that delay. And that's basically how I do my vocals, guys. I hope that helps. I really love my chain. Please do share your chain. Let me know how you guys go about it. There's many different ways to do it, but this has been working for me in 2019, so I've been using it ever since. Guys, we finally did it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped on some of the tips and tricks that I use in my production. When it comes to vocals, when it comes to drops, when it comes to chords and all of that stuff, I'm going to continue making these videos for you. Subscribe down low, follow me on YouTube, follow me on Instagram. I love you guys. Thank you so much for the support. What's Love Got to Do With It with Agatha, out now on NoFace Records.